Hi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my review of Episode 3 of An Absolute Tragedy and Travesty, and other several words of tra in the middle, in the beginning. I don't know. It's morning, my brain's still waking up, and certainly was not helped by the cavalcade of stupid that was Obi-Wan Episode 3. But I'll get into that presently. Who's joining me? It's beautiful. Wednesday morning, that's what it is, Wednesday. Jaeger Pony, Magister, Bridget, Little Mo Sislak, ex-Bubba Hotep, good morning. And for those of you I might miss who come in late, or those of you lurking, or those of you in the future, hello, how are you? All right, so we start with Obi-Wan Kenobi on this random automated cargo ship going to parts unknown, I suppose, as he's meditating in the hold of this cargo ship that is surprisingly empty of cargo. And he's okay. Let me preface the entire episode with something first. It is entirely possible, those of you listening, that you have not watched the Clone Wars animated series, which I wouldn't necessarily blame you. You don't have to be a super hardcore Star Wars fan to listen to this stream. But technically speaking, and given the people that are involved in the production of this show and in Lucasfilm in general, the character established in the Clone Wars series that more fleshes out Obi-Wan Kenobi as a character, because we only get to see him a little bit in the original trilogy, and we see him throughout the prequel trilogy, but what really establishes his attitude, his modus operandi, really, and is fleshed out more is in the Clone Wars series. So let me give you a quick rundown. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a military general, a Jedi master, a diplomat, and a spy. All of these things at different times in different instances apply, and he is good at all of them. I want you to remember this. He spent his entire life training to be a Jedi, right? Trusting in the Force, learning diplomacy, learning how to move throughout the universe. He's been to dozens and dozens of planets, knows something about dozens and dozens of cultures, can understand, if not speak, dozens and dozens of languages. You've got a guy who is a man of the galaxy, at the very least. Okay, I just want to preface this whole episode with that, because that makes absolutely no difference throughout the course of this show. Okay, so Obi-Wan is meditating in the hold of the cargo bay, or the ship, and he is trying to contact Qui-Gon Jinn, again, because he's been spending 10 years in the desert after Yoda taught him how to commune with Qui-Gon Jinn, and apparently either he hasn't been able to in the course of 10 years, or he's lost the ability to. So anyway, he's trying to commune with Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn isn't answering, and he's having all these auditory flashbacks to the prequel movies, because we need to fill up the time with something that takes us nowhere and does not move the plot along. And then we jump to the assembly of Darth Vader, where he is being put together, I guess. I guess this is his morning routine. He wakes up as a burned, desiccated husk of a human being, and then he is assembled, sort of Iron Man style. So we go through the sequence of reminiscing auditorially, and then the assembly of Darth Vader. And there's Hayden Christensen. Take a good look. This is the about the only time you'll see him in the episode, except for maybe one shot from the distance. Now, I appreciate that Hayden Christensen, as I understand it, is in the suit the entire time. He's effectively taking the David Prowse role from the original movies. And James Earl Jones, as far as I can tell, thankfully, is still doing Darth Vader's voice. Or, because I didn't really pay attention to the credits after this, it's a very good imitation, but I'm pretty sure it's James Earl Jones. Anyway, while I appreciate that he's in the suit, just knowing that he's in the suit doesn't really do anything for me in him being present in the story. I mean, all credit to Hayden Christensen coming out of effective Star Wars retirement to do this. For his sake, I hope that they give him some kind of meaningful yeah, no, I don't have any hope that it'll have any meaningful or logical screen time in the show. But anyway, all right. So he's being put together, and then we get him walking off. Then we find, oh yeah, he's on Mustafar. This is Darth Vader's palace. You see, the palace that was introduced in Rogue One. Even though in the comic books and for years and years and years, his palace was on a planet called Vijun, or Bast, depending on which day of the week he was going on. But anyway, he's decided to set up camp on the planet where he got burned almost to death, which is, what you want to do. I guess maybe focus his pain or his anger or something, or just make him all creepy. Anyway, so he's on planet Mustafar. And now this is his throne room because, Darth Vader often holds court in his castle. It looks very comfortable, doesn't it? I mean, I suppose when you have your legs cut off, ergonomic seating doesn't really matter, but all the same, it's like, what is he doing here? I know I'm asking all these practical questions. Like, what is the purpose of this room? Does he have a lot of visitors? I mean, there's no monitors around. There's no control panels. It's just him sitting on a chair and a holo projector. Okay, so anyway, he's talking to Reva. And she's blaming the Grand Inquisitor's death on Obi-Wan. He will pay for the Grand Inquisitors, and Darth Vader's like, I don't care about the Grand Inquisitor. Kenobi is all that matters now. Is that understood? So Darth Vader, who is, let's just say, the boss of all of the Inquisitors, the Inquisitorius, whose only job is to hunt down Jedi, Darth Vader is seemingly not aware of his subordinate's inherent obsession with finding Kenobi. So he needs to tell Reva that Kenobi is all that matters, even though that to Reva, since this show began, all that mattered to her was Kenobi. So either Darth Vader's not paying attention to his subordinates, or the Grand Inquisitor was not reporting up to Darth Vader the activities and attitudes of his subordinates. But anyway, Kenobi is all that matters now. Is that understood? Yes. And then he says something to the effect of, prove yourself, and the position of Grand Inquisitor is yours. The position of Grand Inquisitor is yours, even though she's been nothing but defiant, nothing but insubordinate, even though that, at least by context clues of previous dialogue, we find out that Reva is either a very, very new Inquisitor or a very lowly statused Inquisitor for some reason or another. But Darth Vader's promising this. Now, I mean, Vader could just be playing on her ambition and her ego, which would make perfect sense. So maybe he's just lying for the sake of getting her to do a job, but whatever. Anyway, so that's that. And then he gets up and walks away. And then we have, are we there yet? With Obi-Wan and Leia on this cargo ship. Now, I don't know if you recall, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is a brilliant droid engineer. Remember when Obi-Wan Kenobi was really into droids, really cared about droids, had a lot of experience in repairing droids? Remember when he was the mechanically inclined one between him and Anakin Skywalker? Remember that? Yeah, no, I don't either. Which is why it's interesting that he's repairing her little droid. And he also says this. I just hit upon it, and I dropped the frame. I hate this, that I can't do it frame by frame. Leia says, are we there yet? And he says, it's a trade route, Leia. I'm not in control of it. Okay, so Obi-Wan Kenobi, who can repair a droid, military general, Jedi master, spy, etc., cannot reprogram or redirect a automated ship to go where he wants it to go. This embodies this entire series so far. Obi-Wan Kenobi has no agency of his own. He is being led to places. He is being led to situations. He does not take charge to direct the course of events. He's just a passenger. This scenario that they're in right now is, so far in the series, emblematic of everything that is wrong with this series. This is not Obi-Wan Kenobi's story. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi, wistful passenger. That's all this is. But anyway, so Obi-Wan Kenobi can repair a droid, can't reprogram a ship to take them to Alderaan, and instead they are just stuck going wherever the ship's going to take them. And Leia's complaining, and he's like, oh. She's like, how does the Force work? What's it like being a Jedi? Have you ever been afraid of the dark? Yeah. What happens when you turn on the light? I feel safe. That's kind of what it's like. You know what else is missing from Obi-Wan Kenobi? That twinkle in his eye. Remember Alec Guinness? Remember that every situation that they found themselves in, he give Luke a look, and there's that little twinkle in his eye because he's sort of assured. He sort of has faith that this is all meant to be, that there's a destiny to everything, that even though he knows that his time is probably coming up, it's all meant to be. He trusts in the Force. Remember that little elfish sort of attitude that he would have? Even though he was only in the original trilogy for 20 minutes total or something, half an hour, whatever it was, screen time wise, Alec Guinness established an attitude for that character that is absolutely absent here. But I'll get into more of that in a moment. First off, thank you, Ex-Bubba Hotep. He seems to be the setting rather than the character. That is a very good way of putting it. He is just the token presence in a show called Obi-Wan. He's just there to be the character in name only. Anyway, so the ship eventually lands. They get off the ship and they end up on some barren planet, world thing. Okay, thankfully it's not Tatooine for once, but I don't know what it is. And then they have to sneak off this ship. Because, well, see, this is a loader droid. Now, we don't know it now because, as far as I know, I've never seen or heard of this type of droid before, but then I'm not a 100% Star Wars expert. But we'll find out later it's a loader droid, and loader droids are very task-focused. They are not intelligent droids. They don't have personalities and so on. So they just do their job and don't really pay attention to things. Somehow, Obi-Wan Kenobi, galactic traveler, diplomat, Jedi Master, and everything else, does not know this, and so he has to sneak him and Leia past the droid. Because, all right. Anyway, we're reminded that this is an Imperial planet, or at least an Imperial-occupied planet, because you see Imperial flag, stormtroopers, stuff. So they're walking along the road, and Leia's being all precocious. And Obi-Wan's like, I've been here before. It wasn't always like this here. There used to be people and farms and towns. And he's like, the Empire did all this. And Leia's like, I thought the Empire was good. Because I'm sure that over the course of her precocious 10 years, Bail Organa has done nothing but praise the Empire when Leia's within earshot. But anyway, I thought the Empire was good. Well, there are some, like your dad, who are trying to be good. Look at this broken down, sad, confused man. This is not Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is a broken individual. Anyway, so he's looking around. He's all hopeless and desperate. And then we cut to some other planet, some water planet. Unknown planet? Don't know. Imperial planet. Base of the Inquisitorius, I suppose, because we've got Reva marching through a hallway at a very... I mean, this scene goes on, like, flying in. It's just music and her walking and walking and walking and walking. And then finally she gets to this office where the other two Inquisitors are at. This is the fifth brother, and I don't know what her sister name is, but whatever. So it almost looks like they're underwater here. Maybe they are. It's hard to say. Anyway, so Reva walks in and is like, we're going to go after Kenobi. We're going to go to this place. And he's like, you are not in charge here. And he uses the Force on her to restrain her. You know, the lady who's destined to be the Grand Inquisitor. Just gets Force choked like that. There's this sort of expanded universe notion that Force users can, to a certain extent, defend themselves and or cancel out certain attempts at the use of Force on them. That's why it's not just, Jedi throwing Sith around and Sith throwing Jedi around all the time. There's a certain pushback when you're dealing with another Force user. It's never explicitly said, but it's sort of understood by, us nerds. Apparently that just doesn't happen here for some reason. Anyway, he says, "I am the next in line." Oh, so there's a seniority thing here. Well, Darth Vader doesn't seem to give a rip, and apparently Reva doesn't seem to care about that. And she's like, "Well, I spoke to Darth Vader. You spoke to him yourself?" Boy, the dissemination of information in the Empire, especially amongst the Inquisitorius, is just great, isn't it? Nobody knows what the other hand is doing. Sure. So, yeah, you spoke to him yourself? Well, I'll just believe you then. Unless you feel I should follow your orders instead, because Vader told me to do a thing. And she's like, "He's on this planet." And they're like, "How could you possibly know that? How could you possibly know that? Hey, fifth brother, you were on the same planet that she was on when Obi-Wan was found, and then you kind of just, disappeared. And then the Grand Inquisitor went to that hangar where he was, stabbed and dead, and she's apparently blaming it on Obi-Wan. And so you don't know where the Grand Inquisitor was killed, at a spaceport. So Reva having some idea of what direction they were heading when she found the Grand Inquisitor doesn't... Okay, well, anyway, so stupid is as stupid does, and they're like, okay, we need to send probes out to find Obi-Wan on this planet. Do you remember in, maybe you don't, Empire Strikes Back, right? The famous probe scene. What happens there? Well, Star Destroyer, the one that I think it was Admiral Ozzel is on, I think it was, he shoots a whole bunch of probes down to the surface of Hoth to be, as they crash land, and then they sort of float around looking around for the rebel base. Probe pods do not have hyperspace engines, right? They're like little satellites you shoot down at a planet you are already at. But apparently on this water planet, which is decidedly not the planet that Obi-Wan is on, they shoot 3 probe pods off this planet to go look for Obi-Wan on that other specific planet. And we see these things, if I can find the frame, because of course I can't. Yeah, we see these things go off into space. When did probe droids get hyperspace engines? Why are they going off in different directions, off into space? If they're going to a singular planet, there is a fixed point in space they must be heading to before they disperse around said planet. But you've got... Why do I bother asking these questions? I don't know. I just, yeah. Anyway, so Obi-Wan and Leia are walking on the planet. And there's they decide to come up with a cover story for themselves in case they get found. And his name is like Ogden or Ogren or something, and she's Luma. And they're coming from a different planet called Tal. Tawl, and that's their cover story. They're here visiting family or something out in the middle of nowhere with no civilization around, and they're just there. So anyway, they're walking along, and then Leia spots... Oh, sorry, they're at the coordinates. See, here's the thing you got to remember. They're only here because Con Man from the previous episode gave them information. Here's the coordinates to go to. Take this cargo ferry and go to these coordinates. The con man who was cheating people out of money, pretending to be a Jedi, he gives them some coordinates. And Obi-Wan, just like we saw in the last episode, just trusts him like, okay, I'll go there. Rather than commandeering the cargo ship and just saying, I'm going to reset the navigation computer to take us to Alderaan. No. So just without anything, again, Obi-Wan is being led to a place. He takes no initiative to go places. He just goes to where he's told to go. It's almost like an actor being told what marks to step on in order to play his role, because he's not the one in charge of anything. Anyway, so they're standing there waiting for this is the coordinates of where they're supposed to meet somebody to do something. It's totally not a trap. And then a little transport's coming down the road. And then Leia's like, hey, I'm going to go flag them down. Maybe they can give us a ride to the spaceport. And Obi-Wan's like, wait, Leia, that's not a good idea. And so this thing pulls up and it's just some sort of blue-collar worker alien guy. And she's like, hi, I'm Luma. This is my friend. I'm my father. This is my father. Hey there, I'm Freck. I'm just a nice alien guy who looks like a mole thing. Hey, how's it going? He's like, yes, we're looking for the nearest port. We need to get home. Where's home? This other planet. What the heck are you doing out here? No reason. And then Obi-Wan walks around to the back of the truck and he's shocked, I tell you, to see the Imperial banner there. He stops and he pauses and he gets all uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my gosh. What are the odds that the Imperial banner would be on a planet occupied by Imperials and all over the galaxy, the Galactic Empire, like it's a big surprise? And anyway, so they're sitting there and they're yapping along and they're talking and they're just trying to convince the driver that they're they're just innocent people, whatever. And he lets us know that he's a good Imperial citizen. He's real loyal Imperial citizen. And you remember the Empire. The Empire really loves non-humans, right? They treat non-humans really well because they're the Empire. You know, the British Empire and or space Nazis, depending on what we're talking about. They really like non-humans. And he's really happy with them. And every stormtrooper he meets, they're just like, hey, dude, how's it going? Because the populace, the citizens under the Empire are treated really well and there's a lot of camaraderie. So anyway, he picks up some stormtroopers on patrol who already know him and his name and everything. They get on here and they sit right across from Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and Princess Leia Organa. And he's like, this is Orden and Luma. They're hitching a ride to the port. And they start asking him questions. Like, where are you from? What are you doing here? What's going on? And then of the two of them, Obi-Wan is the one who lets slip that her name is Leia, but then tries to pass it off as, oh, I was thinking of her mother. That's why we're here, you see. I brought her here to look at the planet that I met her mother on. Yes, that's why I call her Leia. I get confused sometimes. Yes, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Military mastermind, Jedi master, former spy, diplomat, fumbling and bumbling over a situation like this, which is practically nothing compared to any dozen other situations he's been in his storied career. Doesn't use mind trick, doesn't use the Force, nothing. He just, sits there and lets them look at him and stuff and everything. So they start asking about a Jedi, and he's like, I wouldn't know one if I saw one. Because Obi-Wan Kenobi's face isn't plastered all over the place. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. When they were getting ready, the Inquisitorius was getting ready to send those probes out and everything. The Inquisitors there gave orders to the stormtroopers in the room to lock the planet down. And I'm like, okay, no, you call the planetary governor or the person in charge of that planet, and you alert them to the fact that this person is there. Be on the lookout. Here's his picture, and here's the girl we're looking for. If you see them, let us know. Do not engage, or something like that. No. So nobody on this planet knows, even though the Empire knows where Obi-Wan is, nobody on this planet who's an Imperial knows what Obi-Wan Kenobi looks like, or to be on the lookout for a man traveling with a girl, because the Empire. Anyway, so that was her mother's name. Yes, I let slip her real name all of a sudden, and now we have a piece of tension. And the Stormtrooper's like, well, just keep your eyes open in case you see a Jedi around here. You know, sort of a grizzled person in a robe with a hood. If you see anybody like that, let us know. And they get off the bus. And then Leia all of a sudden goes, you knew her, my real mother, didn't you? How does she know this? How does she divine this? Don't know. No idea. No idea. And she's like, you're lying to me again. He's like, Leia. It's just, I don't know what else to say. It's just so stupid. And then Obi-Wan starts talking about his family. Okay, now, as far as I know, details about Obi-Wan Kenobi's origins have been scant at best. It wasn't until just a few years ago that a name of the planet he was born on was given, and that was as a joke. George Lucas was being interviewed by Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart was asking George Lucas trivia questions about his own characters and universe, and he was like, what is the name of Obi-Wan's home planet? And George Lucas said, Stewjon. And that became canon immediately. That was the fun of the old George Lucas years. Like, if there are parts of the story that nobody knew the answer to, and you asked George Lucas, whatever answer he gave immediately became canon. Like, what's Admiral Mott's first name? Asks Conan O'Brien. And George Lucas says, Conan Antonio Motti. And that became Mott's first and middle names. Anyway, so Obi-Wan remembers little images of his mother and his father and of a baby. And she's like, a baby? He's like, yes, I think I have a brother. Yes, there was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and somewhere out there, there's Obi-2 Kenobi, just waiting for his own Disney Plus series. Anyway, so they come up to an Imperial checkpoint. Let's see if I can find the right frame here. Yeah, so there's this laser fence. And I want you to notice something here real quick. This laser fence blocks the road, right? This laser fence ends right here. I want to point that out for a second. Just want to point that out for a second. Okay, so they come up to this laser fence, this checkpoint, and then the alien guy's like, hey guys, I think you might want to take a look at my passengers. So podunk alien guy here wasn't as dumb as he looks. He is suspicious of the two people. And he tells the stormtroopers, you should take a close look at those guys. And they're like, uh-oh. So what does Obi-Wan do to try to disguise himself and not be suspected of being a Jedi? He puts his hood up. You know those Jedi that never had their hoods up or anything? Yeah. So anyway, he's sitting there looking like a Jedi. And then the stormtroopers come around like, get out of the vehicle. And then all of a sudden a probe droid appears out of nowhere because I guess it just happened to land somewhere nearby this one spot and is now moving along, I guess. Anyway, so they're like, raise your hood, look up at the camera. And the droid is scanning his face. And then Obi-Wan shoots the droid, and he shoots the stormtroopers, and he's a crack shot, even though in the previous episode he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn when he was having that shootout on the rooftop. But all of a sudden, now Obi-Wan Kenobi is a frickin' gunslinger. So he blows away all of the stormtroopers, almost all the stormtroopers, because one gets away and takes Leia hostage. And he's like, put it down, put it down. And he's like, okay, I'll put it down. And then, kaboom, he shoots him. And I can't find the frame because, of course, I can't. And then, remember, the laser fence ends here. And so Obi-Wan's going to turn off the laser fence. Now, at first I thought, oh, he's going to jump into the transport car and take them riding off, right? That's why he's disabling the laser fence. Because otherwise, if you're still going to be on foot, and you want to try to have something that might prevent somebody from pursuing you, you might want to leave the laser fence up because you could just walk around the fence. But no, Obi-Wan shoots the controls of the fence to turn it off because you can't just walk around the fence and leave it as an obstacle for any pursuers. Or if you had to double back, leave it there for somebody coming after you to have to deal with. Yeah, military genius here, guys. Anyway, a transport of stormtroopers just shows up out of nowhere, even though barely a minute has passed between the discovery of these intruders and this moment now. Okay, so no more stormtroopers to show up. And they got him. They got him dead to rights. Obi-Wan's on the ground. No mind tricks, right? No lightsaber battle, right? Nothing that Obi-Wan Kenobi could or would do to get out of this situation. He just gives up. And then this Imperial officer lady comes up, and Obi-Wan's still got a gun in his hand, because that makes sense when you've got stormtroopers, bearing down on you. And then all of a sudden, Lady Imperial officer shoots and kills all the stormtroopers from behind. What? She's like, come on. They'll have sent a transmission. We have to hurry. And you know what the first question I would ask if I saw something like that happen? I would ask, who are you? You know who never asks that question? Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know how long it takes for us to find out the name of the person who just inexplicably blew away 4 stormtroopers on behalf of somebody she's never met, and we have no idea who it is? A long time. It takes a while. It takes at least 3 or 4 scenes. Anyway, so the Inquisitors, he destroyed the probe. Signal came through before impact. Really? Really? The signal came in before impact. Okay. I guess I jumped ahead. This is the point at which they've confirmed that he's on the planet. All right. Remember those probe droids that had to fly through space, through some unknown distance of space from one planet to another without hyperdrive engines. Anyway, so now they know he's on the planet. And what is that planet? Or how many stormtroopers do we have on there? We have a full battery. It's a strip operation. Ventrium. It's a mining planet. Uh-huh. It's like, I'll inform Lord Vader. He's already been informed, says the 5th brother, because he's trying to usurp Reva in her ambitions. He was most appreciative. I got there first. Neener, neener. I impressed Daddy, not you. But we both know who'll be standing by his side when this is over. Yes, the rivalry between these two is so well established and interesting, and whatever. Gather your battalions now and shut down every single port. Okay, are they on the same planet as Obi-Wan is? Why is she telling this to the guys there? Why is she contacting either the sector governor or the planetary magistrate that represents the Empire? Why are they talking to the people in this room? You get on the HoloNet and you call the guy in charge. Your Admiral Ozzel, right? Or your Captain Piet, or whoever. Your General Veers, the person on the ground. You have that classic sort of, disseminating information, delegating authority kind of thing. Put somebody in charge so that if they screw up, Darth Vader comes along and crushes their throat. No, they don't call anybody. They just tell guys in this room that aren't on the planet involved. Anyway, we cut to mining camp town. Camptown races sing this song. So the stormtroopers and all of their dirty armor, because the Imperial stormtroopers really didn't care about how their armor appeared to the citizenry. In this part of history, stormtroopers were crisp and clean. Remember in the first movie, A New Hope, on Tatooine, when the stormtroopers showed up? Remember how all their armor was so filthy? Yeah, I don't either. There was a little dust here and there from being out in the desert, but no. You see this kind of stuff in The Mandalorian. After the Empire has fallen, when the Empire is in disrepair at best. These look like they were suits recycled from the Mandalorian show. But anyway, so Obi-Wan and not Imperial officer or Imperial officer traitor, don't know which, still don't know her name. We never ask her name. She just tells them, it's like, you just wait here, I'll clear the way. I'll make sure it's clear. Yeah, so again, Obi-Wan Kenobi is being shuttled around, and he's just a passenger in his own show. So she goes off to some place, some room, and Leia's there, and she's playing with her droid. Remember the droid? I'm sure the droid will become important at some point in some ridiculous way, because we keep having to be reminded that she has this droid. And then all of a sudden, after a space travel on a freighter ship thing, after running across the desert, after avoiding stormtroopers, suddenly Leia finds it in herself to apologize for running away. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't mean to run away. Now, I'm not sure if she's meaning originally, like on Alderaan before she was kidnapped, or if she's talking about where she ran away from Obi-Wan on the planet, on the casino planet, the Reno planet. But in either case, yeah, you did it on purpose. You purposely ran from the palace to get away from all the stodgy adults and the party and everything. And then you ran away from Obi-Wan because you didn't trust him. You did all of that on purpose. What are you talking about? What? And Obi-Wan's just like, whatever. Anyway, so finally they're given the go-ahead to come into this little hovel, this little workshop or whatever. And this is where Leia meets this cargo hauler droid. This guy here, the same model that we saw unloading the ship. I don't know if it's the same droid, but it's the same model, same purpose droid. And so she goes up to the droid because Leia likes droids, and she says, because the lady says, this droid's name is Ned B. Ned B. I'm wondering if that's a reference to some actor, producer, writer, somebody, somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, she says, hi, Ned B. This is my little droid, Lola. Do you like Lola? And the lady's like, oh, he's not programmed to communicate. He can't understand these things. He's just a loader. They don't allow him to communicate. Well, what if he has something to say? And then she says, actions speak louder than words. Like, what? Huh? So is the droid sentient or intelligent, or isn't he? What? Anyway, she opens up a secret door, and in the secret door is a secret room. And in this secret room, we find out, if you can believe it, that this lady is in charge of the Underground Railroad for Jedi. Some call it the Path, she says. Oh, some call it the Path. Yes, there was an Underground Railroad for Jedi that Obi-Wan just happened to stumble upon a con man who is a part of the Underground Railroad for Jedi, who just happened to direct him to it. So she reveals that she's been pretending to be an Imperial officer this whole time, or she's an Imperial officer who now today decided to give up the facade after killing stormtroopers to save Obi-Wan. At one point, she explained, I think I might have skipped it over, it might have come later. She joined the Empire when she thought it was a good thing, but then when she found out what it was really doing, that's when she decided to fight back. Like, okay. So she's going to Underground Railroad him to a planet called Jabim, which has come up in the lore before. That is a name I recognize from some of the comic books, although I seriously doubt it'll be the same thing if we ever get there. So then she explains to them, and from here we give them new identities and get them out. Yeah, so it's an underground railroad for Jedi. Okay? And Leia's looking around, and they're looking around, they're talking, and Obi-Wan's looking around, and he goes over, and he checks out some carvings on the wall. Oh, you just wait for this. Just wait for this. Thank you, X-Bob. Wait. Underground railroad for Jedi on this completely random planet. Yeah, I know, right? Doesn't it make sense? Makes all the sense in the world, right? Yeah, they just have this cargo freighter thing set up to just take Jedi from Reno planet to this mining planet. Now, I suppose that if you wanted to have a way station for runaway Jedi, you would pick a random out-of-the-way planet, though preferably one without an Imperial presence. But hey, what do I know? Thank you, Bubba. Anyway, if you can believe it, he sees some scratchings on the wall. Remember this secret underground railroad for runaway Jedi. What does it say on the wall? Well, he says it's from Quinlan Vos. Now, for those of you that aren't total nerds, you won't recognize the name, but Quinlan Vos is another Jedi Master. So Jedi Master Quinlan Vos, who is apparently alive after the Clone Wars, which fits in with previous canon, he comes to the secret underground railroad way station and carves his name on the wall amongst so many other carvings of people saying, George Washington was here. Because when you're trying to hide not only your existence, but your path of exile, pun, plug, from the Empire, what you do is you leave a calling card. You leave a clue to let the Empire know possibly how you got away, where you went, etc. Something else I want to point out, and for those of you watching on the show, I'm not going to scan back, but I just look at the little thumbnail thing I have here at the bottom of the screen. You see how daylight that is? You see how like early morning, close to midday that is right now as they went into this building? I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that. So anyway, yes, this is a way station for Jedi. And then back in the storeroom, all of a sudden, the droid is standing there, guard, basically, when Stormtrooper shows up. And now, all of a sudden, it's getting kind of dark. We went from midday to early evening in about a second. Anyway, the stormtrooper's coming and says, we need to search these premises. And they're looking around and they're looking around. And the droid has a baseball bat behind his back or a hammer or something. He's getting ready to attack the stormtroopers. He doesn't. And we are reminded again, this is a loader droid. It doesn't understand anything. Even though it understood enough to come to the door and open it when you said open the door. But anyway, so they just leave. And our friends hidden inside are like, oh, I guess we have to hurry. Maybe. And then she starts, okay, so eventually Leia asks this lady what her name is. You know, because Obi-Wan Kenobi would never want to know the name of the person who's just saved their life or anything. Anyway, she says her name is Tala, I think it was. And then she, you know, gets out of her Imperial uniform and starts putting on her Han Solo outfit. And then she puts on her gun belt, right? And she says, I wear it on the other side. Gives me a faster draw. She's explaining to the 10-year-old child. Can you teach me how to shoot? Because, you know, royalty in this, you know, quasi-feudalistic, far-off space adventure, royalty never, ever have any training in weapons. I mean, hunting, sport shooting, fencing, these things never happen amongst planetary royalty in the Star Wars universe. Anyway, so all of a sudden, Tala, without any prompting, without any information, says she'll make a good fighter one day. How the heck do you figure that? Why would you say that? What does that have to do with anything? Why would you want her to fight? Wouldn't you want her to live in a world where she doesn't have to fight? Isn't that what you're trying to work for? Okay. And Obi-Wan's like, why do you do this? Risk everything. I don't know, Obi-Wan. What do you know of sacrifice? What do you know of seeing injustice being done and doing something about it? I don't know, Obi-Wan. Why would anybody sacrifice? You who led armies against the Confederacy, you who saw countless examples of bravery and self-sacrifice against a greater evil over and over again, you who are a Jedi master, you have no idea why someone would do something like this? You can't understand that mentality? Anyway, she explains, yeah, I was part of the Empire, then I found out they were bad and decided to change my mind. Oh my God. Anyway, so then she opens up secret tunnel. And I have to make a correction. At least I believe it's a correction from my previous review. I was under the impression that several people had said Obi-Wan Kenobi out loud within earshot of Leia. You know, because if Leia knows that she's with Obi-Wan Kenobi, then her speech and her message for help at the beginning of episode 4 makes very little sense. I might have to revise that to say several people have said his name out loud, but Leia's been just conveniently out of earshot, even though she saw his wanted poster, which has his name prominently displayed. But anyway, so he tells Tala, just call me Ben. And so she just dutifully calls him Ben. Doesn't say Obi-Wan, just says Ben. And then Obi-Wan gets a feeling. He has his spider sense going off. Something terrible is happening. And he looks outside where it is now pitch black night, because I guess the days on this planet go by really quick. And the Imperial stormtroopers are all out in force in this town. All of a sudden. This one particular town on this planet. And all the Inquisitors are there. 3 Inquisitors. A whole battalion of stormtroopers. And who are they there for? Why, they are there for Darth Vader is here. Dun, dun, dun. In all his glory. Darth Vader is here, and he starts walking through the street of the town. And Obi-Wan is behind this door watching. And as Darth Vader goes through the street of the town and he has some idea that Obi-Wan is here, he starts trying to bait Obi-Wan out. And how does he do this? By harming innocent people. He force chokes a guy out a window. He then breaks the neck. See this little kid here running out? Dad! This kid's running out to save his dad. Darth Vader snaps this kid's neck. I'm not kidding. It was brutal. I was like, whoa, Disney, what are you doing? Making a villain an actual villain? And what does Obi-Wan do? Nothing. He stands there and watches it happen. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, lightsaber at his side, Darksider outside, harming innocent people, killing innocent children, stands there, and he has to be told by Tala, we have to go now. Because Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, he's classically known for being frozen in fear at times of distress and hardship. So he tells Leia to go with Tala. I'll be right behind you. He's like, I'll lead them away. You don't need to lead them away, Obi-Wan. You just need to buy them time. So anyway, now I want you to remember something. There's a front door to this place, and then there's the secret entrance tunnel to the back of the place, right? Those are the only 2 entrances we've been shown. Those are the only 2 points of ingress or egress we have seen of this little hovel so far. And he says, promise me you'll get her to Alderaan. I promise. Okay. And then Obi-Wan is looking out the window still, hiding cowardice. He looks around. He looks at the loader droid. And then, I guess, Obi-Wan just somehow gets outside without being noticed. Darth Vader's still intimidating the townsfolk. Reva wants to go out there and find Obi-Wan. He's like, he said not to engage. Why are you here? If Darth Vader is on the case, you guys are useless. Why are you even here? And Reva's entire mission is also useless because of her entire purpose thus far. If her entire mission in herself is to find and kill Obi-Wan, then Vader being here kind of usurps that completely. But anyway, these 3 are here for reasons. There's not any other Jedi in the universe they could be hunting down. Anyway, so they're put on patrol duty as Obi-Wan is suddenly outside and running away. How did he get out of the place without being detected when he was within eyesight of Darth Vader slaughtering innocent people? I don't know. Either way, he runs away, leaving Vader and the stormtroopers and the Inquisitors with the innocent civilians. He's running away, run away, run away. And then all of a sudden, somehow from the opposite direction, Darth Vader appears. And Obi-Wan runs away. You cannot run, Obi-Wan. Well, actually, he can, and he is, and that's all he's been doing this entire time. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Master. Running away from a fight. Running away from protecting innocent civilians. You know, remember, use the Force for defense, not attack. Well, did you use it to defend those innocent people? Did you step out to sacrifice yourself to save Leia when all these other innocent people are being killed by Darth Vader? No, you just hid, and then you ran. Like who's the scurrying rat now? So finally, Obi-Wan Kenobi lights up his lightsaber. And he's still scared. He is scared. You see the look on this guy's face, if I could find a frame. He is scared. Obi-Wan Kenobi is scared. He has given in to fear. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi is afraid. And then Darth Vader confronts him. And then we cut back to the village where 3 Imperial Inquisitors are just being wasted on patrol duty in a town where the one thing that they were looking for is already on the run. And of course, Reva, just for some reason, decides to focus in on this one little hovel, this one little hut. And all the while, Leia and Tala are running through this secret tunnel, the Underground Railroad, right? They've had minutes of lead time to run down this hallway. And they're running, and they're running, and they're running. And Reva's like, something's suspicious in here. Something doesn't make any sense. And then she suddenly zones in on the thing that was put in front of the secret door for no reason. Is it the Force? Is it something else? Is there something visually here that should be giving us, the audience, a clue as to what she's looking at? I had to rewind because this was given some meaningful, like, musical note, and I had no idea what it was that she was noticing or what we, the audience, were supposed to be seeing as a clue. Like, was the door cracked open, or there's nothing there? It's like a coat rack. But okay, so that's where we cut from. Obi-Wan's still running away, hiding, running away. Finally, they encounter each other. So remember, this now, not what happened on the Death Star in Episode 4. This now is their first meeting since Mustafar. 10 years previous, when Obi-Wan left Anakin Skywalker to burn to death on Mustafar. And Obi-Wan Kenobi flails around like a baby, and Vader is toying with him. Anyway, so Reva discovers the secret door. These two have stopped in the tunnel for some reason. We cut back to Vader and him fighting. And Obi-Wan is, like, look at this. He's down on one knee. He's being pushed down by Vader. He's being, basically laid out by Vader. And I don't know if I'll fall in the frame or not, but Vader says something to the effect of, the years have made you weak. So let me just see if I understand this. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Master, military general, expert lightsaber combatant, went to Tatooine specifically to watch over the son of Anakin Skywalker on the hope that Luke Skywalker would grow up to revitalize the Jedi and defeat the Sith, etc. And for those 10 years that he's on Tatooine, he lets his combat abilities go to seed. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is there to protect the boy. No. Obi-Wan Kenobi's not a protector. He's not a doer. He's not a thinker. He's just a watcher. He's just an observer. That's all he is now. He watches Luke Skywalker. He watches other people do things. He is led around by the wrist, either by a 10-year-old girl or total strangers. He just goes where he's told to go. And then when he has to confront Darth Vader, the person he helped train in lightsaber combat, the person he defeated in lightsaber combat, the guy who defeated General Grievous, fought Asajj Ventress countless times, fought Count Dooku and won, and defeated him countless times. Obi-Wan Kenobi spent 10 years just lazing around doing nothing, not keeping his combat abilities in shape, not practicing, not exercising. He's just now an old man with a lightsaber. Anyway, you should have killed me when you had the chance. Well, Obi-Wan thought he'd killed you. He thought he had killed you. That's why it was such a shock at the end of the second episode that he realized you were alive. You can't sense his surprise through the Force. You can't detect his thoughts or his emotions, his shock. And Obi-Wan doesn't say anything. He's silent this entire time. He doesn't try to plead to Anakin's humanity. He doesn't try to apologize. He doesn't do anything. He just runs. So Reva discovers the secret room, of course. And of course, she looks around and she sees all the carvings from the previous Jedi who have been here, because the Jedi who are trying to keep their existence, their location, where they might have gone secret, they all leave their little George Washington was here. She sees a little symbol. This is the symbol of the Jedi carved into the wall. And she suddenly gets emotional about seeing this. Oh my gosh. And so she starts going down the secret hallway. She sees the secret hallway. She starts going down it. Then we cut back to Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan's in this big mining pit thing. And look, here he is again, all scared, wide-eyed, no confidence, no plan of attack, no taking the fight to the enemy, not trying to talk his enemy into a point of weakness or into a point of attack, as Obi-Wan always did before. You remember Obi-Wan always making quips, using psychological warfare against his opponents? Yeah, nope, doesn't happen here. He just gasps. He says nothing. Darth Vader knocks down a bunch of ore and then lights it on fire with his lightsaber. So now there's this big wall of flame between him and Obi-Wan. Now you will suffer, Obi-Wan. And he starts dragging Obi-Wan through the flames. Holy cow! That's brutal. Man, you would think being dragged through a field of flames and burning ore, man, that would singe your mustache, wouldn't it? Except it doesn't, as we'll see. Anyway, he's dragging Obi-Wan through the flames. He's being exposed to these flames pretty directly, right? We're not talking about like just lick of flame here. He's being pulled through this field of flame. And all of a sudden, Tala shows up. Now, how did Tala show up? Right? She heard someone coming from the other end of the hallway, and she sent Leia ahead. Just run. So she's sending a 10-year-old to by herself. I missed this part because I can't follow on frames. So she told Leia, run to the end of the tunnel. There's a pilot there. He'll take you where you need to go. And she runs back down the tunnel. Presumably, because the tunnel only goes one direction, so far as we ever saw. But somehow she doesn't run into Reva, who's already found the secret entrance. And she got outside. She knew exactly where to come to in the however far away it was from the center of town where Obi-Wan ended up in this mining pit. And now she's here at the top of the ridge, without having run into Reva, without having run into any of the other stormtroopers, without having run into any of the Inquisitors. She's just there at the top of the ridge. And Obi-Wan is being pulled through the flames, and he's completely helpless. And And Darth Vader like leaves him there, and as the flames start to dissipate for some reason. I didn't quite get why the flames started dissipating, like they ran out of fuel or something happened. Anyway, the flames die down, and Darth Vader says to one of the stormtroopers, "Bring him to me." And I'm like, dude, you have the Force, just drag him to you. But he sends a stormtrooper to go individually bodily drag Obi-Wan over to him, and the stormtrooper gets shot by Tala. And Darth Vader just stands there. And the stormtroopers are like, what? And then Tala shoots and explodes some more ore, putting up a big wall of flame between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. And Darth Vader just stands there. He stands there. I can't see anything, says the stormtrooper. Well, that's okay, because you have a Jedi Master here practically, or at least a super duper Jedi Knight Sith Lord who has a, mechanical face on who can see through the flames. And of course he has the Force, and we've already seen him pick up and drag Obi-Wan through flames before, so he can just reach out with the Force and, and pick up Obi-Wan again and start the whole process over. No, he just stands there. And then the Inquisitors are like, now we'll never find him. Why? You already found him. Darth Vader didn't tell you where he went. And so the robot and Tala now have Obi-Wan, whose beard isn't singed, whose hair is intact. He's got some burns on his clothing and arms. Ready the transport. We have to get him to Jabim. Why didn't Darth Vader just force push the flames away, walk over, and kill these people? Why didn't he just force lift Obi-Wan up and bring him through the flames again? I don't know. And then Leia's running through the tunnel. Remember, the one-way tunnel, the tunnel that Tala exited somehow without running into Reva, right? And she gets to the end of the tunnel, and surprise, surprise, who's there to meet her? Well, the pilot is dead, and it's Reva. Reva's there to meet her. Because somehow Reva, I can't fall on the frame, of course, Reva somehow got to the other side of where the tunnel let out and killed the pilot. So I guess Reva, this is the only thing that makes any sense. Reva finds the secret entrance, leaves, doubles back to where she thinks the tunnel is leading, and that's when Tala leaves through the front of the place, and that's how they never ran into each other. Even though she was running away from Leia because she heard them coming. And how could she have heard them coming? And then we're done. We're done. Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi, useless. Obi-Wan Kenobi, frightened. Obi-Wan Kenobi, coward. Obi-Wan Kenobi, a weakling. And Darth Vader, an idiot. He had him where he wanted him. There was nothing between him and Obi-Wan but a sheet of flame. The same sheet of flame he'd had in front of him a second ago when he lifted the guy up and pulled him through it. But now all of a sudden he can't get around a sheet of flame. By the way, a sheet of flame that doesn't go like 3 miles in every direction or something. It's just like that laser barrier. He could just walk around the perimeter of that flame to get to Obi-Wan if he was so inclined. This show is terrible. The writing is terrible. The characterizations are bewildering at best and just stupid. Insulting, really. Especially the character of Obi-Wan. This is not a show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is not a show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. As Bubba kind of indicated earlier, Obi-Wan's just there as a set piece. He's just there to have his name attached to this project. This might as well be the Leia show and the Tala show and the Reva show. Because we at least get some sense of a character. We get some sense of something from those characters, even though they're badly written, one note, and hollow. There's at least something there. Obi-Wan Kenobi's a scared little boy. He's a cranky old man. He has no optimism. He has no gusto. He has no initiative. He has no bravery. He has nothing that made up the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. All of that just disappeared in the previous 10 years. All of that just died on the vine, atrophied away for no conceivable reason. And he looks like an absolute joke. Obi-Wan Kenobi is made to look like an absolute joke here. He's not elderly at this point. And even if he was, he is a Jedi master. Right? Everything that we learned from Yoda is completely tossed aside here. And conceivably, everything that Obi-Wan learned from Yoda is tossed aside here. You know, think me weak because I'm old, do you? You know, come on. Judge me by my size, do you? Okay. I don't know what else to say except that I hadn't hoped that it would get any better after episode 2, but my gosh. So yeah, in his first encounter with Darth Vader, he runs away, flails about like a scared little boy, lets innocent civilians die. Lets innocent civilians be injured and tortured, and runs away, somehow, without being detected out of a room that has only one exit. So there you go. I'll entertain a few of your comments here real quick before I wrap her up. Ez Miez. So this is the thing. Vader now knows Obi-Wan survived Order 66 and where he can be found. Yet he didn't pursue him for another 10 years after this. Oh, no. I'm sure we will see them clash again before the end of this. Right? I mean, it would be silly if this is where they left it off, given the dialogue that we saw in episode 4, where he says, "When last we met, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." Except in this instance, nothing about their encounter said that Darth Vader was a novice. He completely defeated Obi-Wan Kenobi in their first meeting. Completely. Disarmed, burned, at his mercy. Bridget, compare Disney Obi-Wan to another modern character, Kyojuro Rengoku. I don't know who that character is. I'm not a weeb, but okay. Rengoku was quick to fight a much stronger enemy head on to prevent the enemy from eating people. He had no fear of death. Well, the Obi-Wan Kenobi as depicted even in just the movies, even if you don't take into account the Clone Wars series, he would have stood there and watched innocent people die. He wouldn't have put his life up first before seeing or allowing innocent people to die when he was present. The Jedi were protectors and defenders. That's what they did. That's what he was raised on. Those are the values that make up the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Not hiding, not cowering, not giving into fear, and certainly not going up against your old friend, your quasi-brother, and not saying a word as he attempts to kill you. Insulted, 25. They made Jedis do way too over-the-top shit in the prequels, so it's not bad. It's not too bad that they are toning it down. Well, I don't even need to see wire work or acrobatics. I'm talking about the characterization. Even if you had no great stuntman work going on, Obi-Wan Kenobi would have a steady face and have a twinkle in his eye, and even in the worst circumstances, make it appear that he had the upper hand against his enemies. You don't need to have any crazy force powers or anything else. The character of Obi-Wan Kenobi would never behave this way. And I am challenged to think again, the Clone Wars are technically canon, right? Obi-Wan Kenobi watched Darth Maul murder the love of his life. And he didn't give in to his grief and despair and give up. He had grief and he had despair, but as soon as things turned around and he had to escape from Mandalore and everything, he was on point. He knew what he was doing. Okay, so you're going to have a hard time, and I'm not talking to you directly, Insulted. I'm just saying the show. the show's going to have a very hard time explaining to me what could have possibly happened in the last 10 years to break Obi-Wan Kenobi down to the point where he is a practical invalid. It's so stupid. Texas Attorney General, secret agent. Yeah, I don't understand how the two can have a rematch fight without one dying this go around. Disney pinned themselves in the corner bringing Vader back. They should never have done this story. There was nothing to tell. Obi-Wan Kenobi sat in the desert for 20 years until episode 4. Anything that happened in between is relatively inconsequential. He hid from the Empire. He was effective at it. He changed his entire life, cut off all ties from the Republic, and just sat and lived a completely itinerant lifestyle on the desert. And that's it, keeping a watch over Luke. That's it. That's all that we needed to know. Also, Tailed Feature showed up to say poop. Well, I would expect nothing less from Tailed Feature. Anyway, everyone, one more, because it's proper, because it's the Luke Skywalker 2. Obi-Wan should never have met Vader during this series. That line is fine enough referring to their encounter on Mustafar. Yep, that's all you needed. That's all you needed. But they decided to throw that out the window and make everything make no sense whatsoever. Anyway, I've gone on longer now than the episode itself, so I really need to try to keep these things shorter so that you're not ending up spending as much time listening to me as you would watching that garbage. But hey, them's the breaks. Either way, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back here again next Wednesday with episode 4, which I'm sure will be even better. And if you'd like to hear more from me, you can find me here tomorrow night, Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for TED Excellence, where I'll once again go over an off-brand TED Talk for enjoyment and information. I call it Enjoyation. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well-behaved, you have very little to do. Everybody who donated, thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Hope you all have a good rest of your Wednesday. Hope you all have a good rest of your week. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.